very welcome back. U.S. Assistant Secretary for African Affairs has disclosed that President Bola Tinubu is the only African leader President Joe Biden wants to meet on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly Unga in September. Molifi disclosed this on Saturday when Tinubu hosted her at the Asarok Villa. President Joe Biden is asking to meet with you on the sidelines of the Unga, and you are the only African leader he has requested to meet. That's to put it in words, Molly's words. Now, joining us virtually to talk about this is Nick Abuli, who is a social commentator. Good morning, Nick, if you can kindly hear us, and welcome to VOP this morning. Nick, how are you?
Very well. Good morning to you.
Thank you. I want to say thank you, first of all, for being patient. I know that you've actually been in for a while now. We just need to ensure that we have details on what is trending across the national dailies. Once again, welcome to VOP this morning.
Yes, I was enjoying the conversation. Any conversation that moves Nigeria forward is a good one for me.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Nick. So first, let's ask, what should Nigeria's agenda, at the General Assembly in September be? What exactly should it be? Hello?
Thank you very much. I think Nigeria's agenda at the UN General Assembly this year should touch on the key issues that we need to tackle to be able to turn Nigeria around. First on the list will be security. Nigeria is facing a lot of security issues, both internally and externally now, as we see with Niger. And President Tinubu, in his meetings with other world leaders, either bilateral or multilateral, should be seeking the support of the global leaders to help Nigeria tackle insecurity. That will be the first one. Of course, the second one is going to be the economic agenda. We know that there is poverty in Nigeria. We know recent policies of this current government, specifically on fuel subsidy and foreign exchange subsidy, have further intensified the poverty in Nigeria. But Nigeria is one of the most blessed countries in the entire world. So there is this lacuna, there is this difference between the wealth of resources that we have and the quality of life of the citizens. And I will expect President Tinubu to speak with other global leaders on how they can help Nigeria unlock value from the rich resources that we are blessed with, so that there will be prosperity in this country. Nigeria actually has no business with poverty. This to me will be the two key the two key agenda that President Tinubu should pursue when he meets with global leaders at the UN General.
All right.
Okay, Nick, thank you very much. So the next question is, what would you consider to be so special about Nigerians' president that the U.S. counterpart is willing only him at the Unga meeting in September? What exactly is special about Nigeria so much that, that Joe Biden will be so interested in meeting with President Bola Tinubu? And if I may add, of what importance would this meeting be to Africa as a whole? Do you get
important.
Me? Okay.
Yes, Nigeria is important in global affairs because, first of all, Nigeria has the highest black population in the entire world. There is no country that contains more black people than Nigeria. And Nigeria, in the African context, is a superpower, not only in our population, also by our economy, and also by our rich natural resources. The US buys crude from Nigeria, so that's important to them. And now, Nigeria is leading a match on Niger, which again is of high importance to the US, because not only does the US have a military base in Niger, there are other neighboring countries in the West African sub-region that are threatening to join with Niger in case ECOWAS makes good their threat that they are going to take military action against Niger. And who knows how much escalation that kind of conflict can get to. Who knows whether it's going to engulf the whole of Africa or even extend to the Middle East and all of that. So that is also will be of great concern to the United States, and they would like to meet with President Tinubu to be able to sort out these things, understand the direction to which he's going, and all of that. But to me, I don't even think this is a headline news that makes any difference to us. President Biden can afford to meet with all the other world leaders who are attending the UN General Assembly. It doesn't matter to us. What matters to us is that we need simple things. Nigerians don't ask for too much. We just need simple
Nick,
things.
let me take you back. You said that President Joe Biden can meet with other world leaders. It is not necessary, but he was specific in saying that Tinubu is the only one he wants to meet. Now, you mentioned earlier about the economic relationship, the positive economic relationship this conversation with Joe Biden will be, considering the fact that Nigeria needs to boost its economy. You know the hard times we're currently facing. But there are speculations about the situation in Niger. The president has said that he is under pressure, all right, to do something as soon as possible to restore Bazoum. He said he's been looking for alternatives through which he can resolve the crisis via dialogue. Other ECOWAS states are ready to invade. Speculations are rife that the US is actually interested and that they actually want him to invade Niger. That could be one of the conversations that they want to have with him. Do you think that that particular speculation is true? Do you see any form of truth in that particular line of thought?
To be honest, I'm unable to read the mind of President Biden on Niger and exactly what he wants to do there. But I definitely know that if there's a meeting between Nigeria's President Tinubu and US President Biden, Niger will definitely be on the agenda.
Yes, Tinubu actually said that. He said that he is determined to create prosperity for all Nigerian families, and that there are deep attempts to peacefully settle the issue in Niger by leveraging on diplomatic tools. And he will continue to hold ECOWAS back from invading Niger, despite they wanting to invade Niger as soon as possible. So that's why I asked you the question, why Tinubu particularly?
Tinubu is the head of ECOWAS sub-region, and ECOWAS is the one that is in the forefront on trying to find solutions to the Niger crisis. So it is definitely of importance that President Biden would like to meet with President Tinubu, not only specifically to discuss Nigerian affairs, but also in his role as chairman of the ECOWAS sub-region, where Niger is a boiling hot topic. So, but to me, like I said, look, for us in Nigeria, we just need simple things. We just need government to take care of this fuel crisis through the refineries. We need electricity. We need good roads. We need healthcare. We need education. Those are the things we need. And if President Tinubu goes to the UN General Assembly, gets these things for us, it doesn't matter to us who else President Biden speaks to. He can speak to all the other leaders. It's not our concern. Let's just have our economy to function. This is for us the important thing.
So Nick, from the coup in Niger to oil theft and to insecurity, what concrete outcomes will signify a true win for Nigeria at this time?
Sorry, can I ask for a minute? If we take a break, my computer is running out of battery. Let me connect.
All right, Nick, there is no problem. Joy, the situation with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu meeting with President Joe Biden of the United States, when that news broke out, it created quite a vast number of reactions.
Of course.
Some persons were actually certain that, okay, this would help because naturally Nigeria needs its economy, and that relationship between Nigeria and the US will be better now.
Of course.
So, we do a lot of importation of, foreign goods. So economically, our economy would definitely get the benefit of it. But others are of the view that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is being persuaded by the West to invade Niger. There are speculations which are rife that the reason why he's actually doing that is that he wants to get their support. He also wants them to give him a stamp, meaning that if at all that win comes for him, or if he's able to do as they are nudging him to do, whatever it is his plea, whatever concerns of his will be adhered to by the United States. Even whichever way he goes about his government, there will be no interruption, there will be no criticism, like what was experienced during the elections where we had the EU reports. Yeah. So if he toes the line or the nudge at which, they're nudging him, there's a possibility that he wouldn't see that backlash and that criticism anymore that has to do with his government. But that is actually a wide scope to consider, because if we want to look at the measures that have been applied recently, ever since he, genuinely, or let me not use the word genuinely, ever since INEC, declared him as the president of the country, he has been having negotiation and several meetings with a couple of international counterparts, especially with the strong G5 nations. He has met with China, he has met with South Korea, he has also met with he's about to meet with President Joe Biden. Even with the Arab nations too, he has been having conversations
even before,
with them.
So
these are the aspects through which I know that he's trying to create strong bilateral relations. But Nigerians there's a sense of exasperation. I'm not generalizing, but if you feel the pulse of the street as to what exactly is happening in the Nigerian economy, what is happening with the people, there seems to be a sense of dissatisfaction, and they're saying, why should the president not resolve this dissatisfaction first before having to go ahead and do other things. I think we have Nika Bully back. Nika, are you now with us?
Yes, I'm back. Really sorry about that. I didn't realize my computer had so low battery. And then it was not just a straightforward plugging into the system, because I'm in Barcelona and they use a different type of socket here. So I had to look for the European adapter to put in before I connect.
You had to come back in.
We're okay now.
I saw that you had to enter your office. You were outside before. I said you were outside before. Yes. I see you changed your location. You had to go back inside.
I was sitting on the balcony of this hotel, but now there is no socket out there on the balcony, so I've gotten back into the room.
All right, no problems.
All right, Nick, I'll just take the question again. I said from the coup in Niger, to oil theft, to insecurity, and all of these things going on in Africa. What concrete outcome would signify a true win for Nigeria as a nation?
And that's a very fantastic question. The important thing is that what are the outcomes? What is in it for us? President making this trip to the UN General Assembly. And I think you have touched on the major things that are bothering us. Insecurity is the first one. You see, like I said earlier, I'm here in Barcelona. I brought money. I'm spending it on hotels, on taxis, on restaurants, on side attractions, and all of those kind of tourist things here. And after this, I'm going to leave only with my family back to the UK, and we're leaving all our money back here in Spain. And that is what you do to attract tourists to come to your country, by taking care of your security. If I thought in my mind that I'll bring my family here and we will be kidnapped, or there will be some sort of crisis and the police will not be there to help us, I wouldn't have come here with my family. So this is the way security is very important to an economy. We cannot be talking about attracting foreign investors when people are routinely kidnapped and the security don't seem to do anything about it, and then the families and their employers have to pay ransoms. And then a National Assembly is setting out to pass a law to criminalize those who are paying ransom to release their people when the security aren't doing anything. So you see, the security is a major issue. If we don't solve insecurity in Nigeria, no matter the efforts of government, they are not going to yield so much for us. And this insecurity is also affecting our oil production, like you said. Well, government concedes that about 1 million barrels of crude oil are stolen every day from Nigeria's production.
400,000
People think
barrels.
about oil now selling at $80 a barrel. That is $80 million daily lost from crude that we have produced to criminals.
Concerning that particular statement, Cyril Abako, a house analyst, said it didn't lose. It didn't lose anywhere.
It didn't go anywhere.
It didn't go anywhere. It didn't lose it. It was
looted.
It was diverted.
Diverted.
Certain individuals are the ones, diverting it.
Yes. So to me, I categorize that all as part of insecurity, because if our borders were secured, if we had our armed forces and our intelligence community secured, and if the president holds their feet to the fire to perform their duties, then the diversion or the stealing or whatever name it is called will not happen. To us Nigerians, we don't really care what it is called. We simply want these $80 million to come back into our coffers, which is a whooping $2.4 billion monthly. Look at the way we celebrated going to get a loan of $3 billion. And under our nose, people are either stealing or diverting, whatever it is called, our money to the tune of $2.4 billion every month. So President Tinubu definitely needs help. He needs help to get other global leaders to with tackling insecurity in Nigeria. And as you see, Nigeria is facing a lot of economic issues. One of the basic issues that we are facing is electricity. Nigeria, an economy of 200 million, we're producing and supplying 3,000 megawatts of electricity. I will shock Nigerians to say that the UK, where I left to come here in Spain, every day they produce 730,000 megawatts of electricity. Imagine 730,000 megawatts in comparison to 3,000 megawatts. And without electricity, forget it. No matter the economic policies that government will implement, without electricity, it won't happen. So for me, these are the issues that President Tinubu need to put on the table and get world leaders to commit to Nigeria. And look, this thing will only happen with sincerity on the part of President Tinubu and those who are helping him to run the government. The thing is that people would like to come to Nigeria. Corporations would like to come to Nigeria. But the government must be transparent. The government must be honest in its dealings. And without that, a lot of opportunities that people see here in Nigeria, they are not going to bring it. So we have to start an internal house cleansing. And that has to begin with President Tinubu and his cabinet before the world will see us as a beautiful bride to come in.
All right, Nick, there is a very interesting question I want to ask you, and I feel it's tantamount for there to be a response. We do know that some African countries, countries that are borderlands of Nigeria, are experiencing a situation of maintaining democracy. For example, Gabon just concluded its own elections, and we saw what actually transpired. Election results couldn't be announced on time. The opposition, where the opposition actually has a strong market, a strong support base, election materials did not arrive there on time. We see democracy, dying off in some West African nations, Central Africa as well. And Nigeria seems to be the talisman, the billboard through which every other person should look up to. But don't you think that democracy itself is dying here? The reason why I'm asking that is, considering the conversation that President Bola Tinubu is to have with Joe Biden, shouldn't that be one of the conversations that should be had, especially from Joe Biden to President Bola Tinubu? Do you think that while Nigeria is fighting to restore democracy in other nations, for example, the paramount one here is Niger, don't you think that democracy is dying off in Nigeria?
I honestly subscribe to that view, that Africa's democracy is not doing very well. It's not thriving. It's not flourishing. We hear all sorts of things. Our neighbors there in Cameroon, one man has been in office for like 40 years. So Definitely the United States must be interested, and they should be interested in strengthening the democratic structure in Africa, across the entire continent of Africa. As people say, well, democracy is not a system of government that is good for us in Africa. We're not yet old enough and all of that. But the question I ask is that, what's the alternative? If you condemn something, you must put something better on the table. So for me, I don't see a system of government that is better than democracy. I believe that democracy is, if well practiced, is what is actually going to lead us out of the woods here in Africa. But the people need to be empowered. People need to be empowered to be able to, because democracy is a government, as if we say, it's a government by the people, of the people, and for the people. So if the people are not empowered, there's no way democracy can thrive in African nations. And that is where I believe the United States must take a leading role, because you see, the lack of democracy in Africa is killing more Africans than even the coup in Niger or terrorism and all of that. So, and if the United States is very keen on dealing with terrorism in the African continent, then why can't they also deal with terrorists in our democratic space and terrorists in our economic space? Because as I speak to you now, there are rogues in Africa that have stolen millions of dollars, if not billions. And some of them are in US banks there. And President Biden should take his eye and look at things like that and begin to fight states so that Africans can begin to enjoy the wealth that God has endowed us with.
All right, Nick. How do you think democracy can be defended in Africa? You know, especially now, of course, you know, they are trying to avoid the use of force, you know, right there in Niger and all that, to just, you know, settle this whole thing amicably. But do you think that is actually possible? Do you think that, you know, we can eliminate the use of force when it comes to the enforcement of democracy in Africa? Just like Tinubu said earlier that, you know, that he is the one preventing the ECOWAS bloc from actually, you know, going all out to ensure that democracy stands in Niger. You know, what other measures can be, you know, can be put in place to ensure that democracy stands, you know, but force would not be, you know, be used to enforce it, basically.
A very, very valid question you've asked there. Yes, democracy needs to be defended. And the best way to defend democracy is to empower the people, enlighten the people, give people capacity to demand that their democracy must work for them. You see, the UK, where I left to come here, on any given day, like today, being Monday, go to Parliament Square, you are going to see minimum 30 different groups who are there protesting to members of parliament for one thing or the other. These are citizens defending their democracy. You see MPs being written letters, receiving phone calls. The media is up in arms against the government. Everybody is kidding. And when it's time for election, people troop out, they vote, you know, and this puts pressure on the leaders to know that if they don't deliver, then the people are going to punish them at the ballot. Or even you see MPs, you know, being recalled and things like that. But in Nigeria, you see, because of mass poverty, a lot of people are only looking for how to survive. They don't really care whether democracy is there, is not there. And those are the areas where the likes of the United States can help us defend democracy by empowering the people so that the people can defend their democracy. And like you likely said, it is better for the people to defend their democracy than using guns to defend democracy.
Very well.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you very much, Nick.
We'd like you to stay with us for the next segment on VOP this morning.
Yes, and up next on VOP this morning, more eyes on the judiciary as International Marketing and Communication Consortium apologizes for all eyes on judiciary billboards across Nigeria. Details when we return.